In real time, ladies and gentlemen, we have officially reached our lowest point. The uncontested symbol of devotion and emotional fortitude, Papoose, has finally said what we were all afraid to hear. It's finished. Completed. Completed there. Split was just announced by the man who stood tall in the face of public humiliation and tempted to rebuild with Claressa Shields after waiting years for Remy. And the cause was a single picture. Not just any picture that dealt his relationship. A fatal blow. Claressa didn't simply leave. She walked up arm in arm with another man while displaying a toddler-sized ring and captioning it. "Another year, I will bring it in with my fiancé. Fiancé is not my person, nor is it a boyfriend or acquaintance." Beside a man she, supposedly, wasn't serious with, I smiled for the camera and said yes behind closed doors. Papoose is too shocked to respond to the questions we are currently posing. Did they have a phony relationship? As Claressa secretly created her true existence? Was he merely a narrative reset button? What more is she concealing, if anything? This separation is deliberate and not quiet. We also own the receipts. Let's dissect everything right here. At this moment, celebrities' lives is this. Let's go back in time to before the internet took off. The streets were whispering for months. They claimed that Papoose and Claressa Shields were merely friends. However, there was the way she gazed at him in those Instagram stories, the pictures from the late-night supper, and the boxing backstage videos. Now hurry up! Our birth was not yesterday. The chemistry was too purposeful, too genuine, and too damned clear. Fans were therefore divided when Papoose and Claressa eventually went public, or soft debuted, depending on your point of view. Some applauded him, stating that he had finally discovered calm following Remy's storm. Others criticized it, describing it as high-definition rebound behavior. But one thing was evident no matter which side he supported. Papoose appeared to be invested. Claressa had a cunning expression. Let's be honest. Controversy surrounding Claressa Shields is nothing new. Compared to most athletes her age, she has had more public relations disasters, clowning, and crownings. This woman has always played the game on her own terms, from her early battles with boxing commissions to her notorious tirades on Twitter criticizing legends. And since this wasn't a fight, that's okay until it isn't. This was the branding of betrayal masters. Kris Jenner appears to be an amateur thanks to this flawless, meticulously designed setup. On New Year's Eve, everything began to fall apart. Claressa posted a picture so violent and explosive that it sent the algorithm reeling, while the majority of people were drinking champagne, watching the ball drop, and sending Happy New Year texts to their terrible ex-partners. She was there, with her arm tightly wrapped around a man the public had never seen before, radiant and smiling, dressed like love itself. However, it wasn't his face that caused the internet to go down, she captioned it. "My fiancé and I bring in another year. Not a friend or a fiancé, not a new boo flame. The fiancé's wearing a ring, the vows are being made, and the wedding invitations have already been prepared." Then the internet abruptly went down. In an attempt to do the math, fans hurried to the comments. Did she not just have Papoose with her? They just went to that black tie event together in December, didn't they? Were they not seen holding hands in front of a Brooklyn studio? Who is this man then? At what point did he become involved? Or, more crucially, when was Papoose excluded? Papoose became popular in a matter of hours. Additionally, not for the reasons you might hope, the hashtags were harsh. Hashtag #SitaPeacePopCesios. He was performed by Claressa. One more year. One more lie. And while Claressa remained utterly silent, sharing videos from her vacation and ignoring the commotion like a well-trained athlete, Papoose took one easy step. After deleting all of her photos and unfollowing her, he posted a single paragraph on his Instagram story that simultaneously stated everything and nothing. To be at peace, one must know when to leave. No drama, no names, But the message is clear and unmistakable. It was done. At that point, blogs took over. On-site TMZ and the Shade Room are frantically attempting to find the missing pieces. Is this man of mystery? When was the engagement? What was the reason for treating Papoose, a revered artist, father figure, and cultural icon, like a disposable press prop? Insiders began to speak quickly after that, according to people close to Papoose. He discovered it on Instagram in the same manner that we did. Take a moment to process that. This man was blindsided by a post like the rest of us, yet he stood by a woman through public humiliation, held her hand when everyone laughed, and brought her peace when all she knew was pandemonium. There was only a lovely photo with a comment that essentially said, "You were never him." The saddest part was that she wasn't declaring a brief affair. There were no warning signs, no heads up, and no text message saying, "We need to talk." She had reportedly been engaged to this man for some months. The leaks began purposefully, covertly, and quietly. According to one unnamed source, they were a member of a marketing team involved in Claressa's commercial endeavors. They said that Claressa's brand was being completely redesigned. The objective: make her more balanced, personable, and mainstream. The answer? Make her appear solid, reliable, and well-respected. Let's get Papoose in. According to sources, Claressa's team suggested that she'll associate with a well-known man in order to improve her public image and divert attention from a number of financial issues involving her promotional contracts that occurred behind the scenes. Papoose was the ideal choice because of his calm manner, devoted reputation, and tidy appearance. Give that some time to settle. It wasn't love. There was no connection. It wasn't getting better. It was a plan. He served as the decoy, the distraction, and the emotional armor that shielded her from criticism as she prepared for a business makeover. Until she became bold, it worked. The intention was never to post the fiancé's photo. Insiders claim that it was a slip, an angry outburst, and possibly a power maneuver. In any case, it blew everything up. The story is now going in a spiral. Some supporters are standing up for Claressa, arguing that she never called Papoose her guy, that perhaps the public made too many assumptions, and that adults may be pals. Let's avoid deceiving reality, though. Her gaze on him was visible too. His gaze on her was visible to us. We can now see the reality. There was no miscommunication here. It was a master class in deceiving emotions. Because this is what's currently coming to light, and it's even more repulsive than anticipated. Audio notes, purported texts, and screenshots. Fap's cool, but we knew it wouldn't last. She needed a clean guy to ride with for the media push, reads one purported direct message from someone in Claressa's circle. He was never in on the real plan. We just hoped he wouldn't ask too many questions. And now he's asking all the questions. He may not be saying much publicly, but trust me, Papoose is not a man who lets this kind of disrespect slide quietly. He's planning his next move. According to legal rumors, there may have been a non-disclosure agreement involved. A private clause that bound Papoose to silence in exchange for access, visibility, or compensation. If that's true, and if Claressa broke the terms by going public with another relationship, then this isn't just a breakup. It's the start of a legal war. If the rumors are true, it won't be subtle. That's where the real drama begins. An anonymous source who says he worked in Claressa's PR team claims that Papoose was approached last year with what was described as a mutual benefit media alignment. That is, short-term situationship that would boost both parties' brands. But here's where it gets dark. While Claressa stood to gain national exposure, public relatability, and a brand new audience, what did Papoose get? Visibility, perhaps a few photo ops. Sure, underneath Papoose was a man who might have signed something he didn't fully understand. However, there was no mention of love, respect, or honesty in that contract. This source claims that the agreement contained a social media content plan, media talking points. and an alleged non-disclosure clause that prohibited either party from publicly revealing or implying romantic intentions or relationship dynamics outside of brand-approved narratives. In other words, if you saw them together and thought they were in love, that was your fault. They never stated it explicitly, but they led you to believe it. The issue is that, although Claressa didn't technically cheat, she deceived the entire culture and weaponized public affection without taking accountability for its effects. Asterisk the man in the now infamous photo. The fiancé is not new to Claressa's life, not even close. According to several sources, he has been in her life privately for more than 2 years. One of them claims that they were engaged last summer, long before Claressa's name was ever linked to Papoose in the blogs. Why keep him hidden and why flaunt Papoose instead? The answer is corporate strategy. Claressa was reportedly closing a multi-million-dollar licensing deal with a global athletic apparel brand, a co-branded fitness and boxing line that aims to empower women of color. But there was a catch. Claressa needed softness, stability, and balance. According to sources, her PR team suggested that she quietly align with a man who is known for his patience, wisdom, and non-toxic masculinity. She had recently made headlines for allegedly fighting a member of her own team on social media and receiving criticism for her aggressive post-match interviews. He was the emotional backdrop, the man who never demanded attention, who smiled on red carpets and let her shine, who defended her on podcasts, who reposted her accomplishments without ever making it about himself, and who made her look grounded. It worked. Brand began calling. The deal progressed. She was now being marketed not just as a fighter, but as a reformed powerhouse with emotional depth and papoose. He's gone, and the internet is still reeling. After the photo leak, Papoose went completely silent, but those close to him say he's been recording everything, every article, message, and repost. According to one source, he's quietly putting together a timeline, constructing his case not for the courts, but for the culture. Because when Papoose speaks, it won't be through gossip blogs or passive-aggressive tweets, but rather through controlled, purposeful, and potentially career-defining words. Claressa's camp is frantically awaiting his move. The brand team released what they are referring to as a burner phone log, which is a series of purported communications sent between Claressa and her fiancé during the Papoose time. The most damaging of these is a message from Claressa that says, "Don't worry, he's just for now. You will always be there." She knew, she planned, and she carried out, and now the damage control isn't working. If confirmed, that one message not only confirms treachery but also calculated emotional manipulation. The fitness company that was going to use her as the face of their women's, according to a leaked internal email. The empowerment campaign has backed out, the announcement was withdrawn, the commercial rollout has ceased. And the email states, "Given the current public response, we can't move forward with the campaign. The heat is too high." Incorrect optics. Indeed, the optics are off, because this story has taken on a completely other meaning, regardless of how strong Claressa's in-ring legacy may be. Nowadays, it's not about cheating. People don't forget treachery, especially when it's presented with a grin and a public relations pitch. It's all about trust, public trust, brand trust, emotional trust, etc. However, Claressa doesn't appear to mind the twist. Her new posts are big and arrogant with holiday photos, champagne glasses by the beach, and words like "let them talk," "I'm living." It could even be considered impolite. Here's the problem, though. She might not agree with what the culture has to say, like court transcripts, Twitter threads, or analyzing her maneuvers. Timeline breakdowns are being produced by YouTube creators. Dramatic reenactments of the scandal on TikTok are going viral. Behind him, there are a lot of devoted Papoose supporters. They are grieving more than simply a breakup. They are seeing the reduction of their icon to a supporting role in another person's narrative, and they're not going to tolerate it. It was properly summed up in one comment. This man was betrayed by both of the ladies he loved. The world owes him peace eventually. And perhaps he's trying to do that, because there is now a man with clarity behind the heartache. Even worse was a man who lived. A guy who knows that while dignity endures eternally, silence is fleeting. Additionally, as Claressa Papoose is getting ready for something much bigger, as she continues her gentle debut romance with her recently disclosed fiancé. Just the truth, without drama or retaliation. Because nobody has yet to discuss the last layer of this story. And when it falls, it can completely reveal the truth and turn everything you believed to be true upside down. The quiet was short-lived, because a new leak surfaced just as Claressa believed she had moved on. Put the drama behind her and started a new chapter with her so-called forever fiancé. Additionally, this one could be the last nail in the coffin, according to someone close to a well-known boxing documentary series. Last fall's filming saw cameras rolling backstage after one of Claressa's altercations. An exchange between Claressa and her now ex-fiancé was captured off-script and wasn't intended to air. She was still openly associated with Papoose at the time. 3 people with access to the raw files have confirmed the authenticity of that one clip, which hasn't been released yet. Claressa is seen whispering and laughing with the man, adjusting her necklace, and saying, "As long as Pap keeps playing along, we're golden." The man reportedly nods, smiles, and responds, "He still thinks he's got a shot, huh?" The producers are currently discussing whether or not to include it in this series' final cut. If they do, Claressa's whole public image, which she worked so hard to build over the years, could fall apart in one shattering revelation. Because this was no longer a messy breakup. This was emotional fraud captured on film, which may now be aired to millions of people. Her group is rushing legal threats, emergency meetings, and draft public relations announcements. The internet, however, isn't waiting. The anger is intensifying. Those who used to support her are now on opposing sides. Influencers who gave her high marks are removing their paid content. Brand partners are refusing to speak. Her page was entirely removed from the website of one sportswear business. And Papoose maintains his composure throughout it all. There are no interviews or furious tirades, just subdued background movements. According to sources, he has already hired a lawyer and is getting ready to respond legally to both the split and the contract violation. Claressa might face severe financial repercussions if her actions broke any of the terms of their purported media agreement, especially those pertaining to public image, defamation, or unapproved exposure. According to one legal expert who spoke to a gossip website, if Papoose has records proving he was utilized in a business deal and then publicly humiliated in violation of that agreement, he could sue for damage, not just personal, but reputational land. In this business, reputation is currency. However, more than money, Papoose truly deserves. And what fans are calling for is accountability. Claressa turned him into a prop for her own convenience, creating an image around him, profiting from the energy he carried, selling vulnerability, warmth, and redemption to an audience that needed it. And then discarding it all for a well-timed ring reveal with a man. It's not just betrayal. It's exploitation, and the people aren't buying the rebrand anymore. Her posts are saturated with criticism, with one user asking, "Where's the apology?" You could have at least respected his humanity. For saying this isn't about Papoose being hurt, another went viral. It has to do with your fakery. And the impact is only getting started. According to one reporter, Claressa's staff is currently losing access to the media in important cities, and 2 talk shows turned down her future press appearances. She may have won the short-term narrative, but she's losing in the long run. And Papoose, he's rising not through sympathy, but through truth. Bloggers are celebrating his class, artists are shouting him out in freestyles, and fans are calling him the real MVP, not because he got played, but because he never stooped to. The level of those who played him, appearances because of the scandal. That one major sports outlet decided to push her feature story to next quarter, which is code for probably never. Deny and divert. Papoose is laying the groundwork for something more. A book, a documentary, or a single? No one knows yet, but insiders say he's working on something with a title that supposedly says everything. The Cost of Loyalty. Okay? And when it comes out, the world will finally hear his side in full. No contracts, no NDAs, just truth. And that might be the moment Claressa is most afraid of, because truth cuts deeper than scandal in a world where image is everything. This was never just a breakup. It was a betrayal of trust, a misuse of narrative, and a public unraveling of a lie wrapped in good lighting and fake captions. The last chapter is about to be released, and it has the power to change the course of events, not just for Papoose, but for all public figures who have ever been used as pawns in someone else's game. Now that the mask is off, the truth is out, and the damage is done, we must ask, was any of this ever true? Did Claressa Shields use Papoose, a man who has always been loyal, respectful, and reserved, as a stepping stone in her public relations game? We want to hear from the real ones, the day one fans, the people who still think loyalty means something. Do you think Papoose should finally speak up? Should he expose the full story, sue for damages, drop a diss track, or walk away with his dignity untouched? So, how many other so-called power couples are based on the same lies? This wasn't just a breakup. It was a takedown, a carefully constructed illusion that fell apart the moment one photo revealed everything. Here at Gossip Spill Vibe, we don't just tell stories, we end cover-ups. This isn't the end. This is just the beginning, and you already know that the next scandal is just one notification away. If you felt even the slightest bit of heartbreak, betrayal, or secondhand rage while watching this unfold, hit the like button, hit subscribe for more viral breakdowns and truth bombs, and turn on your notifications.